I'm Chris, and this is MMA for You. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC Fight Night 96, Lineker versus Dodson, which happens on October 1st on FS1. And I believe the prelims are actually on FS2, if I'm not mistaken. But before I get into that, I'd like to plug my own author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. I am an author specializing in the fantasy genre, and you can buy some of my works, starting with my first novel, an action adventure called The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99 on my website on PDF format, or if you have an e-reader such as a Kindle, you can buy it for $4.99 on Amazon.com. Also on my website or on Amazon.com for just $1.99, you can buy some of my short stories and short story collections, starting with the fantasy horror short story, The Land of the Wooden Statues. Then there's the horror collection, which is a compilation of 3 of my gothic horror short stories. And finally, the Fantasy Fable collection, which is a compilation of 4 of my Fantasy Fable short stories. Links to buy these will be provided on the description, along with a link to my Twitter page, a link to my author's Facebook page, and a link to my author's YouTube page, which is me doing like manga reviews and reading some of my short stories. Okay, on to this card. Good prospects, you know. Main event fight's real fun. Good style matchup, a really aggressive boxer, boxer brawler type versus a counter striker. So I think that's a really interesting matchup. Will Brooks is fighting Cowboy Alex Oliveira. That's actually, I think that's an interesting fight, to be honest with you. I think I'd still call them both prospects, despite the fact that they do have a good amount of fights. Smolka's on the card. I think he's a great prospect. Then you have some UFC newcomers. Ottow fights Burkman. Joachim Christensen, he's a light heavyweight. He's fighting Henrique de Silva, who's actually a prospect. I'd call them both prospects. Fili versus Diaz is actually pretty cool. A heavyweight fight between Abdurakhimov versus Walt Harris. Could be a heavyweight fight, or could be like a knockout. Nakamura versus Zaleski, actually isn't too bad. Marquardt fights Tamdan, McCrory, I like Tamdan. Ion Cutelaba versus Johnson Wilson are 2 prospects at light heavyweight, and you don't see many of those. Same with Blaydes versus Cody East, 2 heavyweight prospects, still under 20s. I don't see that too much. And you have a women's bantamweight fight prospects also. 3-1 Faszholz versus Ketlen Vieira. So, a lot of prospects on this card. It's definitely a, under the radar type of card, but I like it, but, it's definitely more of a hardcore fan treat than like a real name value treat. So, let's get started. John Hands of Stone Lineker fights John the Magician Dodson. And before I finish this, I think John will win. Ha ha ha. But anyways, Lineker, 28-7 record, 11 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. That's those 3 losses by submission. 26 years old, he's 5'2" on a 5-fight win streak. Was recently knocking out Michael Mayday McDonald. Trains out of ATT. Lineker is super aggressive and always pushing forward. He's got a really strong chin, and he's something of a boxer brawler type. He uses combinations and will strike to the body a lot along with the head. He's particularly heavy-handed, and his takedown defense is really good too. His hands are kind of low, so his hands are in position to defend takedowns a lot of times, especially since he uses the body strikes. And on top of that, he actually has a good guillotine, which also, like when he fought Ian McCall, he used the guillotine to really thwart off takedown attempts. John Dodson, 18-7 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. 31 years old, he's 5'3", trained out of Jackson Winklejohn, and an Ultimate Fighter winner. I would say Dodson, he he's built as something of more of a boxer. I mean, he'll throw like knees and kicks, but like his boxing's the thing that really stands out a lot. But he's more of a counter striker than anything else. Really heavy-handed. Um, he has one punch knockout power. He has some strong takedown defense and strong scrambles too. If he gets taken down, he's really good at getting back to his feet. I like this stylistic matchup here because, like I said, aggressive boxer brawler type versus uh, pretty slick counter puncher, counter striker, both heavy handed. So I think it's a recipe for, as long as like Lineker can lead, I think it could be pretty fun. But if none of them lead, but like I can't imagine a situation where Lineker doesn't lead, because Dodson at times will not always lead. You know, he'll wait for the guy uh, to strike so Dodson can get the counter. Um, this is interesting though because Dodson has managed to, when he can hit guys clean, I mean he's like knocked them out. You know, and the thing with Lineker is he is at least open for those hits, but his chin is so strong. I mean, that guy takes like so many clean hits from like Francisco Vieira, who hits hard. Michael McDonald hits hard and can him clean, and it does like nothing to the guy. So that's what makes this interesting. Volume wise, Lineker is like much more high volume than Dodson, who's a pretty low volume striker. I doubt this fight really goes to the ground, but unless one thinks that like Dodson will hit like a nice counter punch and knock out Lineker, um, I'm gonna go with John Lineker to win this one. Tough to say if it'll be by KO or TKO, just because Dodson is pretty tough. Um, but I see Lineker getting hit. I see him getting countered quite a bit, but I can also see him eventually overwhelming Dodson. Um, so, and like I said, I think that Lineker's chin will hold up to Dodson's counter strikes, but maybe this is a fight where it doesn't. You know, you just don't know. As Dodson does hit pretty hard. But overall, I like John Lineker to win this one, to just out volume and overwhelm Dodson. I'm going to go, should I go K or TK or decision? You know, I'll go decision. What the heck? I'll just go John Lineker to win that by decision. Next fight, that Ill Will Brooks fights Alex Cowboy Oliveira. Oliveira, 14-4 record with 1 draw and 1 no contest. 9 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by sub. 28 years old. He's 5'11", trains on a Tata Fight team. I want to say, is it Thiago Marta Santos that trains on the Thiago or Tata Fight team also? I think he might be training at. Oh, no, I don't think he trains at ATT because Will Brooks trains at ATT. I'm not too sure. I know these guys like travel to so many different gyms and whatnot. Alex Cowboy, strong Muay Thai, real heavy-handed too. Remember when he knocked out like Pierre Haman, for example? Just real heavy hands, real heavy strikes. And his wrestling's improving too. He's actually kind of showing himself to be more of a wrestler, ground and pound, back take type of guy. That's kind of what he's been doing as of late, and works to some pretty good success too. But yeah, you know, his wrestling is improving. He'll get guys down, ground and pound them, and like take their back. And he's doing that better and better these days. Ill Will Brooks, 18-1 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. 29 years old, he's 5'11", on a 9-fight win streak, training out of ATT. He's a former Bellator lightweight champion and a strong wrestler with really strong takedown defense. His stand-up is improving, but I really like his clinch. It's really strong, and his clinch striking in particular is really good. He has like good knees and like uppercuts and whatnot from the clinch position. Skill for skill, I mean, I like Will Brooks here. As far as finishing potential goes, I like Oliveira, and it, Will Brooks still has to mind his P's and Q's here. Like Syed Awad knocked out Will Brooks. Oliveira can do the same. So Brooks has got to really like mind his P's and Q's. I think Will Brooks though can do well in the clinch. And I think he can get Oliveira down consistently. Both guys are pretty athletic. Will Brooks is like really athletic though. Um, so I like Will Brooks here to mix in like clinch strikes, takedowns, and he'll probably fight on the feet too in open space as well. But that's probably where Alex Cowboy is the most dangerous. But overall, I think Will Brooks mixes in like a lot of aspects of MMA better. I think Oliveira is going to have a hard time taking Will Brooks down as well, especially since, like I said, Oliveira has been kind of trying to wrestle a lot more lately. So I'm going to go Will Brooks to win this by decision. Next fight is that Luis the Last Samurai Smolka fights Brandon the Assassin Moreno. Moreno, 11-3 record, 1 win by TKO, 8 wins by sub, 22 years old, he's 5'7", and an 8-fight win streak. It is his first fight in the UFC, and he has taken this fight on short notice, replacing Sergio Pettis. So, Brandon Moreno had that one fight against, is it Pimentel? And the Ultimate Fighter. His boxing looked pretty solid, actually, in that fight. But, like, I saw some other fights of his outside the UFC, and his ground game is pretty standout. It's pretty good, too. He has some really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. So his ground game looks pretty good. In that fight in the Ultimate Fighter, his hands look pretty good. Luis Smolka, 11-1 record, 4 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. 25 years old, he's 5'9" on a 4-fight win streak, trains out of Hawaii Elites with the likes of like Russell Down, I believe. Holloway trains there as well at times. Smolka's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are real strong. He's good at taking the back and such a good scrambler. This guy's on the bottom, like he finds a way to get on top. His overall wrestling has really improved. His stand-up is improving. He did have something of weakness though standing, where he was one of those guys that just wasn't that great in like boxing range, which makes me kind of wonder if Moreno can actually box. I might be able to do pretty well into boxing here against Smolka. I think Smolka's been better about it. His stand-up's been looking a lot better as of late. With the short notice that this fight is, and the fact that like Moreno is still largely untested at this level, and Smolka, he's beaten some pretty solid competition. I gotta go with Luis Smolka to be able to get this fight to the ground, maybe even take the back and get the submission. So I'm gonna go Luis Smolka by submission to win this. Next fight, that Josh the People's Warrior Burkman fights Zach the Barbarian Ottow. I think that's how you pronounce it. Zach Ottow, 13-3 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 10 wins by sub. He's 5'11" on a 4-fight win streak. It's his first fight in the UFC. He's taking this fight on short notice, as Burkman was supposed to fight Bobby Green. So I watched some video of Ottow. I think it was actually his most recent fight. I like his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's a good wrestler too. He's good at taking the fight to the ground, passing the mount, or else taking the back. His stand-up though looked average at best. He, didn't look bad, but didn't look that great either. Josh Burkman, 28-13 record with 1 no contest, 7 wins by KO TKO, 10 wins by sub. That's a 7 losses by sub. He's 35 years old. He's 5'10", training at a Pit Elevated. He's only won 1 of his last 4 fights. That was against KJ Noons. The thing with Burkman is like his boxing is actually pretty good, and he's actually pretty heavy-handed. He's a good wrestler too. The problem with Burkman though, I don't know if he's in the right weight. I really don't think he's in the right weight class. He's 35 years old. He's fought at Walt. He was a career welterweight for like the longest time, and decided to make the cut to 155. I think that affects his cardio. The other thing is he kind of has this like mental gap. Like he'll just kind of like fall into Steve Carl's like triangle choke. He'll like strike with like Dong Hyun Kim and like actually beat him up, and then like inexplicably go to the ground with him. It's he kind of has this like, oh, wherever the fight takes me, I will go type mentality, instead of keeping the fight in a particular place where he's advantageous. Um, yeah, actually, I think that describes him quite well, actually, and that seems to be why he loses fights. The fact of the matter is, though, Zach Ottow, I like his ground game. I just don't know if he'll get those positions on Josh Burkman. I don't know if he'll be able to take him down consistently, get mount or past the like dominant positions that easily. And he's taking this fight on short notice too. Standing, I think Burkman's better, and he is pretty heavy-handed. So, I got Josh Burkman to win this one. Burkman, like I said, he's really inconsistent though, and like I said, he seems to play a game of like wherever the fight takes me, instead of like let's keep the fight where I'm strongest. So it makes me kind of worried about Burkman. Like he might play the grappling exchange like where Ottow is strongest. But otherwise, Burkman's a lot more experienced. It's not his first one in the UFC. He should have the full camp. Well, Ottow was actually supposed to fight someone already. Um, so even taking the fight on short notice, I think Ottow should be in shape for this fight because, like I said, he was going to take a fight already. Um, but nonetheless, I'll go Josh Burkman to win this one. I think he's better standing. I think he'll be able to defend the takedowns, and maybe even get the KO or TKO victory. So I'll go Josh Burkman by KO or TKO. Okay, on the FS2 prelims, Joachim Christensen fights Luis Frankenstein, Henrique de Silva. Henrique de Silva, 11-0, undefeated record with all of those wins. All those wins are by finish. I got my stats wrong. Because I got 11 KO, TKO, and 1 sub. But he's 27 years old, and he's 6 foot, and he's never been past the second round. The thing with Henrique de Silva is the dude is absolutely sloppy everywhere. His stand-up's sloppy. He gets hit clean. I mean, he fought Jonathan Wilson, and he managed to finish him, but like he also was in trouble in that fight. He's pretty heavy-handed. The thing with Luis Henrique de Silva is he's got a good chin, and he's just stupid tough. And that makes it really difficult for guys that might be more technical than him to beat him. Joachim Christensen, 13-3 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He'll be the taller fighter at 6'3" on a 5-fight win streak. His first fight in the UFC. So I actually watched his last 2 fights. They weren't very long. One was against Anthony Ruiz, where he armbarred him. Another one was against Jonas Bilstein, where he knocked him out. I like his stand-up. It's actually pretty crisp. He actually has a good, 1-2. He does like a 1-2 kick a lot of times. And his ground game actually looks pretty good. On a technical level, he actually looks pretty solid, like standing and on the ground. And his level of competition, like Jonas Bilstein's actually pretty good. He's been Stephen Pletz also, who's pretty solid as well. So this fight's really tough for me to call because it's Christensen's first fight in the UFC. And while I think he's a more technical guy, Henrique de Silva is like stupid tough. It's like you can burn yourself out trying to beat this guy up, and I've seen that happen. Like Ildemont Alcantara did that to Henrique de Silva. He just beat him up, and then he got hit like real hard, and then Henrique de Silva won. But and against like Jonathan Wilson, it's kind of the same. It's like it's not like Henrique de Silva doesn't get in bad positions, because he most certainly does. But I like the technical game of Joachim Christensen. I hope he fights smart and tries to take the fight to the ground as well. If he can stay on top, he might be able to get some points there. So, yeah, I'll go Joachim Christensen to win this one. Probably by decision, maybe a sub. But, tough one for me to call because, like I said, Henrique de Silva is stupid tough. Okay. Next we have that Hacran Barnaby Diaz fights Andre Fili. Diaz, 23-4 record with 1 draw, 3 wins by KO Tico, 9 wins by sub. 32 years old, he's 5'8", training out of Novo União. He is a BJJ black belt, but he's in like the UFC. He's been just nothing more than a grinder. A pretty good one too, though. Like he managed not to get like Darren Elkind. He actually managed to out wrestle Darren Elkins. Yeah, and he has good top control, and his stand-up's actually not that. The problem with Hacran Diaz always makes me angry. His stand-up actually isn't that bad from what little I've seen from it. But he doesn't tend to use it very much. Andre Fili, 15-4 record, 8 wins by KO Tico, 3 wins by sub. He has 2 losses by KO Tico, 2 losses by sub. 26 years old, he's 5'10", trained at Team Alpha Male. Trading losses and wins, most recently losing to Yair Rodriguez in a highlight reel fashion. Knocked out Gabriel Benitez before that, though. So, yeah, Fili's stand-up, it's pretty solid, actually. Hits pretty hard, too. His wrestling's not too bad, and he's a good scrambler, too. Very much a Team Alpha Male trait to be a good scrambler. Tough one for me to call in the sense that, like, Fili is probably better in stand-up, but, like, I like Diaz's overall wrestling and grappling game to be able to keep Fili grounded and just grind out a decision victory. So I got Hacran Diaz to win by decision. Next, I thought Shamil Abdurakhimov fights Walt the Big Ticket Harris. Harris, 8-4 record with all 8 of his wins by first round KO or TKO. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. 33 years old, he's 6'4", trains out of ATG. He's trading wins and losses right now. He finally got that elusive UFC win against Cody East, where he knocked him out. Harris's stand-up's not that bad. He actually has he's pretty heavy-handed, pretty good boxer. His takedown defense isn't that bad either. Like, he has been taken down, don't get me wrong, but it's not like he's giving up easy takedowns. And he's just pretty athletic, too. Abdurakhimov, 16-3 record, 7 wins by KO TKO, 4 wins by sub, 35 years old, he's 6'3". Abdurakhimov, he's a good boxer, uses a jab really well, and his overall wrestling game actually isn't too bad, too. Tough one, it's heavyweight, it's low-level heavyweight, so it can go either way. I would argue that Harris probably hits harder, but Abdurakhimov has the better, stand-up game. He's probably the better boxer, too. On the ground, it's not like Walt Harris tries to take the fight to the ground too much. But, I'm gonna go with Abdurakhimov to win this one. I think he can get, he might be the better boxer here. He uses a jab better. And really just, I'd say maybe just outpoint Walt Harris to a decision victory. So Shamil Abdurakhimov by decision. Tough to say. The reason why I'm so hesitant with this one, it's heavyweight. Harris, I think, might be the better athlete, and he's a harder hitting guy. But at the same time, on a technical level, I think Abdurakhimov's better on a technical level. So that's why I'm going with Abdurakhimov to win that one. Next we have that, Keitaro Nakamura fights Elizeu Capoeira Zaleski dos Santos. Okay, Zaleski dos Santos, I'll just say Zaleski. 15-5 record, 12 wins by KO Tico, 2 wins by sub. Has his 2 losses by submission, he's 5'11". He has some good stand-up, and he's actually pretty heavy-handed, some good kicks. His takedown defense is pretty good, Remember in his last fight, when he was on the bottom, he would scramble back to his feet pretty well. Uh, Keita Nakamura, 32-7 record with 2 draws and 1 no contest, 6 wins by KO TKO, 17 wins by sub. 32 years old, he's 5'11". He's got some strong Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills, really good back taker. Overall good wrestling. His stand-up though is average, and his stand-up defense is actually just pretty bad. This guy was getting beat up by Li Lang. He got like dropped in the first couple seconds against Kyle Nogue until he rallied back and got, and managed to get the victory. Yeah, I have a hard time picking Keita Nakamura to win fights in the UFC. Honestly, I don't think I've actually picked him to win a fight in the UFC. Uh, so this is why it's really hard to pick Nakamura, because the guy keeps getting blasted on the feet. But he's like a wizard on the ground. Like literally, he's like a wizard on the ground, almost literally. This one's really hard for me to call because Zaleski, he hits hard, and Nakamura is there to get hit. However, on the ground, Nakamura is real crafty there. Underrated wrestler. So it's just really tough to say here. Ultimately, though, like I said, I don't like that Nakamura is always there to be hit. And Zaleski hits hard. He's a good scrambler. His takedown defense actually isn't too bad. So I'm going to go with Elizeu, Zaleski, to Santos to win by KO or TKO. Okay, on to Fight Pass prelims. Nate the Great Marquardt fights Tamdan the Barn Cat McCrory. McCrory, 14-4 record, 7 wins by KO TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. 29 years old, he's 6'4", and he is big from 185. He had some strong Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. He's actually pretty good off his back. Beat Joachim with a triangle from his back. His stand-up is improving. He's showing some real power in his strikes. Defensively, still needs some work. Krzysztof Jotko just blasted him right off the gate. Nate Marquardt, 34-16 record with 2 draws, 10 wins by KO TKO, 16 wins by sub. He also has 5 losses by KO TKO, and 2 losses by sub. 37 years old, he's 6 foot, and a former Strikeforce welterweight champion. He's only won 2 of his last 8 bouts. Knocked out CB Dalloway pretty recently. Got knocked out by Thiago Moreta Santos. Also pretty recently. Marquardt, his stand-up's good. He has some when he's on. I mean, he has some of the craziest combinations you'll see. He is heavy-handed, and his wrestling actually isn't too bad. Both offensively, his takedown defense isn't. His takedown defense is actually pretty good. And his Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills are pretty good, too. He has a good guillotine. The biggest problem with the Marquardt is he's just kind of slow, and his chin, honestly, has betrayed him, one too many times. If the Jotko fight didn't happen, I wouldn't be worried about McCrory, but it's just kind of you never know if Marquardt's just going to throw some over and right and knock out Tamdan McCrory. Honestly, it's now a possibility because Jotko did it, But overall, I mean, Marquardt's chin is just fading. He's going to be the much shorter fighter, too. Tamdan, his boxing offensively is getting pretty good, showing some power in his strikes. And Marquardt cannot take a hit very well. So I'm going to go Tamdan McCrory to win this one by KO or TKO. Next fight is that Ion Cutelaba fights Johnny Bravo Wilson. Wilson, 7-1 record, 6 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by decision, 6'2", trains out of Millennium MMA. The thing with Wilson is that, he's a good athlete, but he's, on this constant, he's still green to be in the UFC. I think he got, picked up by the UFC far too early. His stand-up is improving. He actually has a good, fundamental, rudimentary, stand-up game. His takedown defense is kind of average, and as shown his fight against Luis Henrique de Silva, he's not that great off his back. Um, but Wilson's also pretty heavy-handed too. Ion Cutelaba, 11-2 record with 1 no contest, 9 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's 22 years old. He's 6'1" and also a finisher. He had a really tough out. He fought Misha Serkinov, and dude, that was such a tough out for your first fight in the UFC. You know, Serkinov was able to just outbox him, and eventually, when the opportunity was there, took him to the ground and arm triangled him. But Cutelaba, like, his stand-up's pretty good. His cardio's still a bit of a question mark, and his grappling is like, I'd say it's just average. You know, he is pretty heavy-handed as well. I'm gonna say this right now. This one's a pick'em fight for me. Both these guys are still so raw in the UFC. They do have some level of athleticism. Um, both lost their last fights. Um, but overall, I'm going to go with Jonathan Wilson to win this one by KO or TKO. I'm not too confident in that pick. I think Cutelaba's gas tank isn't the greatest. I think Wilson might be a little farther along technically standing. I don't think Wilson's that great on the ground, though. So that's another problem for him. But like I said, not confident on this one, but I'll go Jonathan Wilson to win by KO or TKO. Next fight after that, Curtis Razor Blaydes fights Cody the Freight Train East. Cody East, 12-2 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. Has his 2 losses by KO or TKO. 28 years old, he's 6'3", trains out of Jackson Winklejohn. His stand is actually pretty good. I remember back in the regional scene, man, this guy was blasting dudes. He's pretty heavy-handed. His wrestling's not too bad either. Curtis Blaydes, 5-1 record with all 5 wins by KO or TKO, and 1 loss by TKO to Francis Ngannou. 25 years old, he's 6'4", and he is a finisher. He's never been to decision. Blaydes' wrestling's pretty strong. He has a good ground and pound game as well. And stand-up, it is improving, but it still needs a lot of work. I think Cody East is better standing. Tough to say he's a better wrestler. I'll just go with Blaydes as a better wrestler here. I'm actually pretty high on Curtis Blaydes, to be honest with you. Despite that loss, Francis Ngannou. He is a good wrestler who's just trying to improve his overall game. I think that wrestling can kind of get him pretty far, too. So I am going to go Curtis Blaydes to win this one. I don't know if he can get the ground and pound finish or not. Oh, what the hey. Curtis Blaydes, KO or TKO, ground and pound finish. Once again, I'm not confident in this fight for a couple reasons. One, both guys are low-level heavyweights. They're also new. They're also unproven at the UFC level in a sense, because both of them lost their fights in the UFC. The other thing is, too, I mean, they're both big for the weight class. East is 6'3", Blaydes is 6'4". Both young for heavyweight, too. Blaydes, 25, East, 28. East has more experience. Blaydes, pretty good wrestler, though. But it's heavyweight. One punch can change the course of the fight. But nonetheless, I think Curtis Blaydes can get takedowns on East. Maybe. And maybe get a ground and pound finish. So, yeah, Curtis Blaydes by KO or TKO. And finally, Kelly Faszholz fights Ketlen Fenomeno Vieira. Vieira, 6-0, undefeated record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. It's her first fight in the UFC. So I saw one fight of hers. Actually, the most recent one. It was all standing, and their stand-up didn't look too bad, but her opponent was like much shorter than her. But she was able to just play a ranged striking game with her, and it didn't look too bad. She looked to be relatively heavy-handed. The fact that she has 3 submission wins, though, suggests to me that she is pretty good on the ground. Kelly Faszholz, 3-1 record with all 3 wins by sub. She has 1 loss by TKO. That was the Lauren Murphy. She's 5'8". So I actually really watched her fight against Lauren Murphy. Faszholz is a finisher. Her boxing in that first round looked pretty solid. She was just straight punches well. Didn't look bad in the clinch. Her takedown defense didn't look bad. It wasn't until later that like Lauren Murphy was able to adjust and whatnot. Faszholz took that fight on short notice, was fading a bit, and then Faszholz ultimately lost. But Faszholz, she is a finisher with no decisions. I do like her boxing game. It looked pretty good in the last fight. Her overall grappling game is pretty good actually. Um, as well. So with that said, I am going to go Kelly Faszholz to win this one. I'll go by decision. Okay, to recap. I have John Lineker beating John Dodson by decision. Will Brooks over Alex Oliveira by decision. Luis Smolka beating Brandon Moreno by submission. Josh Burkman over Zach Ottow by KO or TKO. On the FS2 prelims, of Joachim Christensen over Luis Henrique de Silva by decision. Hacran Diaz over Andre Fili by decision. Shamil Abdurakhimov over Walt Harris, I think that was by decision. And Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos beating Keita Nakamura by KO or TKO. The Fight Pass prelims have Tamdan McCrory beating Nate Marquardt by KO or TKO. Jonathan Wilson over Ion Cutelaba by KO or TKO. Curtis Blaydes beating Cody East by KO or TKO. And Kelly Faszholz over Ketlen Vieira by decision. So that's it for my predictions for UFC Fight Night 96, Lineker versus Dodson. You can leave any of your comments below. And please check out my author's website at www.chrismoldon.com. Buy some of my works, starting with my first novel, The Mustard Prince in the Condiment Kingdom, for $4.99 on my website on Amazon.com. And check out my short stories and short story collections for just $1.99, starting with The Land of the Wooden Statues, the Horror Collection, and the Fantasy Fable Collection. Links to buy all these will be provided in the descriptions. So, that's pretty much it for MMA for You. Thank you guys very much.